What was your sense of what the West or California was like before you first came out here?
I just read about it in books about the 60s and books about, hippies. And so I just pictured it as a place where there's a lot of surfers and Jim Morrison used to hang out. So I didn't know quite what to expect. Where people would be more chilled out, more relaxed. California, man.
In California, like Southern California especially, people are really nice to you, like really nice, like super nice. And it's totally fake.
That whole demographic of people that live out there, they viewed me as a hard conservative. I mean, just the hardest as they come. And now that I'm living back here in Alabama, down in the South, people here view me as a hard liberal. So it's just, it's a completely different conception.
I think of the Midwest as somewhere that's kind of very Stepford wifey. Everyone's blonde and walks around in heels and wears aprons still, so I guess it would be very 50s-ish.
There's not a lot to do necessarily, and there's not a lot of culture and arts, and there are pockets and pieces, but it's not what it is in a big city or on either of the coasts.
I definitely have a rather unfair prejudice towards, like, Deep South.
I'm talking about narrow-mindedness. Maybe I'm guilty of generalizing about different parts of the country. Although Arizona, Texas, and Florida genuinely seem like pretty full of awful people sometimes, like when you read the news.
You know, some places like Texas really, really surprised me. Even, I know you got Austin and Houston and like cooler parts or more, city type places. But even, the smaller towns in Texas, they've been lovely. Like you're often wrong.
People assume that Southern people sort of look like they're missing teeth and wear overalls and whatever. I don't know what the generalization is, like kind of ignorant, like how did you even get out of there sort of feeling.
There's definitely a lot of common misconceptions that we're just a bunch of hicks rolling around on four-wheelers and dirt bikes, hunting possums all the time.
You get the word hick thrown around, hillbilly, stuff like that, but I mean, it's just good, down-home, wholesome lifestyle, it's not like out in California. People are always moody and rude, they don't want to give you the time of the day. Down here, it don't matter where you go, who you talk to, they're friendly. They're going to talk to you like you're your brother, treat you with the utmost respect.
Being in more of a metropolis area, being around in a city, being around people that are always on the go, always moving. There's so many more people, like you don't walk 3 blocks and see somebody and it's kind of nice.
A lot of times I'm like screaming and like, just get me out of here, but then I go to New York and talk to my friends that are from New York and they feel the same way about their city. That grass is the greener on the other side.
New York is for the young and the rich, in my mind. Because whenever I go there, I'm like walking around all the time. I'm staying out late, I'm eating late, I'm exhausted by the time I come home.
People from New York all being hard to get along with, or weird accents, or taxi drivers. There's outskirts of towns in New York that are probably just like the countryside of Birmingham.
I really think that it's fear that keeps people from living in the city. It's fear of the other. It's fear of people who aren't like beautiful nuclear white families.
If you're like the one ethnic family in a small town, that's going to be much more apparent to you than if you're in a metropolis like a New York or a Los Angeles.
People say, oh, we live in such a melting pot, we're so diverse, blah, blah, blah. No. Even in the city, you see it. Even in today's society, you see it. You judge people by how they look, you judge people by the clothes that they wear, and you especially judge people by the color of their skin.
When I first moved to Los Angeles, I expected it to be more integrated than it is. But in a strange way, it's more segregated than the South because everybody has like their own little areas.
It kind of blows my mind the misconceptions that there is about race and how we can't really talk about it publicly sometimes without being really scared to. I think people shouldn't be so scared about it.
I was a sophomore in high school, and I remember this one kid told me, "Hey, I heard your dad's gonna fly a plane into the school." And I took a swing at it.
Like good friends of mine who are enlightened and liberal, and some of the shit that comes out of their mouth, I'm like, you can't really feel that way. Like, I thought you got this.
I've never felt like as a black person I was different than an African, but they always say that Africans are very different than black people, like American black people. And they say that like American black people are like, they say that we're like super sloppy and like crazy and like our lives are messy and we have like a whole ton of like sexual misconduct and like no pride in ourselves, and like it's just so crazy to like, it's wild to hear this like perspective from someone you feel like isn't like within your same, I don't know, like ethnic population, but they're like, no, we're nothing like you.
We're in an interesting time right now where it looks like we're really blending culturally. I think a lot of the racism that exists now is kind of hidden below the surface a little bit.
When people want to play the race card, they do. And when they want to be like, oh, peace and love, I don't see color, then they play that card too.
Definitely a problem with race in America, and that's more just getting along with anyone. And I think people like to target certain demographics more than they should.
It tends to vary mainly on the area. You know, like you can go up deeper in the country here in this area where, you know, you get to where the people are not having cable, you know, and not a lot of them even got power, you know. There's even, believe it or not, there's still houses around here people are living, they've got dirt floors, you know, bathe once a week and stuff like that. And those are the individuals that you're gonna hear the slang for the racism.
That's what I consider a redneck.
Yeah,
Somebody
those individuals right there, they won't even speak to a black man, you know?
Yeah.
They won't even give him the time of day.
Working in a restaurant, to be honest, like there's this automatic, like you get a black couple and it's like I bet you're gonna get stiffed. I bet you're gonna get like no tip. You know, like just small things like that. And like it's, just to be honest, like you have that automatic thing just through being raised or experiencing something, you connect A and B to a certain race.
Like I try not to be racist, but I think I am sometimes.
I think it's fun for us to like take these stereotypes that have been handed down and joke about them now and like see how silly they are.
Like everyone I know in Tennessee at one point was racist or made some kind of racist joke or comment that was just, it was to the point where it just wasn't even a joke. Like they were just like, they wouldn't invite people simply because they were black or something like that. Like that stuff still happens.
We've transferred racism into comedy and maybe let our prejudices just rage over there for a little bit.
It was a phase I went through in like 7th grade where I thought that if you were white, you were the devil. I used to talk so much shit to white kids. But now I'm at a stage where I don't give a racist, like when people are racist now, it's kind of weird. It's just like, come on, like, are you seriously about to do that?
When I was growing up, I didn't think that race mattered. And as I became older, I realized it does affect you so much. You know, not just the way people perceive you, but I don't know, just the values that you grew up with and that sort of thing. Like I was not at all prejudiced when I was growing up, but as I've gotten older, I noticed that, you know, I do sort of judge people based upon their race and make certain assumptions that aren't necessarily racist, but just I know how culture affects people.
I think racism is hopefully on its way out. If nothing else, if for no other reason than because, you know, we're just becoming a less white country.
People are still born into racism. It's still generational, even though a lot of the older generation is starting to die off. It's still instilled in like their sons and grandsons and nephews and stuff.
I feel like it's kind of integral to what America is to always be redefining race and class and social construct, and we are an experiment.
Most people agree
Racism is something that we need to fight, but no one is ever willing to go to the next step and the next step and then the next step and then the next 50 steps that come after that.
You can't eliminate racism until you know people, until everyone in our country knows people who are not from their same race. And most people in our country don't even know anyone who isn't exactly like them.
Just put yourself in the most uncomfortable situations that you possibly can, that you're not comfortable with, and try to like make friends and try to find good people, and don't let the stereotypes that have been put into your head affect the way that you live your life.